A billionaire father encounters a black waitress. Allow your son with disabilities to take the lead in a dance step, and then transforms her existence for good. The hush that enveloped Kingley's, the most elite dining establishment in Manhattan, was so dense it felt as if it carried a burden. The dialogue had come to an end. Cutlery became still in the air, and numerous gazes focused on the narrow gap between the tables. Louis Armstrong, at the age of 10, was clearly trembling. His legs, ensnared in steel, hesitated as he extended his hand to Sarah Jenkins, the sole figure of the restaurant, a waitress of African descent. The live piano had just started a gentle tune, and the boys' urge to invite someone to dance arose unexpectedly. "Please manage your son's behavior." Manager Thornton's incisive voice pierced within the stillness. "That is not suitable. This is not a place of dancing, and our employees are not present to engage kids." Robert Miller, proprietor of Miller Investments and one among the wealthiest individuals in the nation, gulped. It marked the initial occasion. He had brought Louis out for a public dinner following the incident that had partially rendered his legs immobile 2 years prior, an error he would not make again. "Louis, take a seat lower." The command arrived, soft yet resolute. Sarah stayed still, her eyes wandering among the manager, the billionaire, and the boy whose hand remained suspended floating in the atmosphere. During her 5 years of employment there, she had discovered how to transform unseen, particularly to clients such as Miller. "Mr. Thornton, I am taking my leave. I've completed my shift." Her voice was serene. She took off her apron and set it down upon the tray. Then, to all present with a sense of wonder, she smiled at Louis and took his hand. "Dancing in an apron just isn't my thing." Robert rose suddenly. "What do you think? What do you believe you're accomplishing?" Sarah maintained her focus on him. "I am graciously accepting the invitation, sir." Before anyone had the chance to intervene, Louis moved cautiously ahead. His foot pulled with great difficulty along the ground, and the metal of his braces let out a piercing screech. However, Sarah refrained from directing him or rushing him. She effortlessly modified her own rhythm to his. "She's being let go tomorrow," a woman at the next table murmured. Robert stood frozen, unable to move. A sudden memory hit him. Elizabeth, his deceased spouse, twirling with Louis in the living room space. "It's not about achieving perfection," she had mentioned. "It revolves around a bond." As Sarah trailed behind Louis, who stumbled along awkwardly, there was a shift in the boy's gaze. Apprehension transformed into a deep focus. Embarrassment transformed into a quiet sense of pride. For the first time since the accident, he was not receiving direction, assistance, or adjustment. He was at the forefront. "Mr. Miller," the voice of the manager cut through his reflections. "I can guarantee that this will not occur again. She will be appropriately self-controlled." Robert remained silent. The whole restaurant appeared to be in anticipation of his response. Ultimately, a man of his influence could terminate anyone's career with a single term. Employees paused their activities, engaging in an activity. Other customers observed with an unsettling fascination. Louis's grin, yet, was the sole sound that resonated within his thoughts. Sarah guided the boy back to the table following 3 dance steps. "I appreciate you inviting me," she replied in a formal manner, as though addressing an adult. "It was an honor." As she turned to as she was about to leave, Robert halted her. "Wait!" His voice had a unique quality, nearly unrecognizable to himself. My full name is Sarah Jenkins, sir." Robert nodded slowly. "Sarah Jenkins," he repeated, as though committing it to memory. Then he retrieved a card from within his jacket and extended it towards her. "My office, tomorrow, at 10 a.m. The whole restaurant was filled its breath. Sarah took the card without revealing any feelings, yet her hand shook just a bit. "Dad," Louis called as she walked away. Could you please do that?" The inquiry lingered in the atmosphere, similar to a charge. Robert observed his son, and for a fleeting instant perceived not merely the young one Elizabeth had departed in his concern, yet a fully realized individual who he had systematically addressed his desires and requirements overlooked for 2 years. As the meal continued in an uncomfortable hush, nobody paid attention to Sarah's look before she departed. Not outside, not from place of fear or resignation, but from a steady resolve that stood in stark contrast to the tempest gathering within Robert Miller's gaze. If this tale about the essence of dignity and transformation is already reaching your soul, remember to subscribe to the channel to keep up with how a straightforward act of consideration can ignite a quiet transformation able to changing lives for good. The entrance of Miller Tower glimmered with its glass and marble walls, mirroring the dawn. As the sunlight poured in, Sarah Jenkins instantly sensed feeling out of sorts in her finest attire, a navy blue skirt and white blouse purchased on sale. The individuals walking past her donned apparel that likely exceeds her value monthly rent. Sarah Jenkins to meet with Mr. Miller, she remarked to the receptionist, who scrutinized her with an observational perspective prior to making a decision. You may proceed to the 18th floor. Miss Winters is ready to see you. In the elevator, Sarah inhaled a deep breath, gripping her tattered purse tightly to her chest. It wasn't fear she felt. It was a calm resolve that stemmed from having encountered greater challenges, far greater. Miss Winters was a woman in her 40s with keen eyes and flawless stance. Mr. Miller is participating in a conference call. Kindly accompany me. As she strolled through the mirrored hallways, Sarah sensed the intriguing steps of the staff. A dark woman being led through the executive offices were quite uncommon, an event that sparked curiosity. He got fired, didn't he? Winters inquired unexpectedly when they found themselves in a waiting room. It occurs. Intense clients reach out, and individuals like you fall short the work they do. Individuals similar to myself. You understand what I mean. Winters modified her spectacles. Team members who are unaware of her Sarah smiled, her expression revealing no amusement. And where would that be precisely? Before Winters was about to respond when her phone rang. He is ready to see you now. Robert Miller's office occupied half of the floor. Through the expansive windows that stretched from floor to ceiling, overlooking Manhattan, appeared as a far-off amusement area. The man stood, gazing out at the city as though it was his personal property. Mr. Miller, Sarah said with a formal greeting. Robert turned, his face an expression of studied control. Miss Jenkins, thank you for coming. He gestured towards a chair. Please. The ensuing silence was measured, a strategy Sarah identified at once. It was a sort of stillness crafted to encourage even the most anxious individuals to express themselves. Many implicate themselves. Does Robert have a background? Excuse me, I have a question regarding education in college. Sarah maintained her unwavering gaze. Bachelor's in child development from NYU. Master's degree in special education, not yet completed learning. A fleeting expression crossed Robert's face, perhaps a surprise. And you are employed as I'm a waitress, and I actually juggle 3 jobs. The eatery, a literary haven on weekends, and as a tutor whenever I have the opportunity to engage with students. Robert approached her table, lifting a folder. I conducted some inquiries about you, Miss Jenkins. I aimed to grasp who the individual was who, he paused, moved gracefully alongside my son. He unveiled the folder, showcasing printed images of community. At the core, liberation unfolds. You initiated that. 6 years prior, Sarah adjusted her posture, sitting up more upright in her chair. I started alongside my sister Zoe is involved in a dance program for children, involving physical challenges. Robert flipped through some documents that are now about to shut down because of insufficient financial support. Sarah displayed no astonishment. Naturally, he would discover everything within a day. I didn't arrive here seeking financial assistance, Mr. Miller. So what brought you here? It was because you invited me. Robert chuckled gently, a sound devoid of joy. That seems reasonable. He rose once more, filled with unease. I desire you to. Sarah blinked, truly surprised, as a server in your home. Robert's expression grew stern. Support a friend for Lewis. His son's name appeared to be a challenge for him. Sarah observed the way his eyes briefly wandered to an image on a woman with a bright smile, cradling a baby. Possessed the finest experts in the nation, Robert went on. Tangible mental health professionals, brain specialists, counselors. However, what you did yesterday... He hesitated as if the words turned against him. It was merely a move, Mr. Miller. It was the initial time I've witnessed him smile since the incident. The acceptance was excruciating. I don't want a dancer for my son. I want an individual capable of replicating your actions. Proceed. Sarah observed the man standing before her. Of her. Underneath the veneer of strength and with a sense of mastery, she perceived what remained hidden from others. A father in despair, feeling adrift. I have the means to compensate you. 5 times what you are currently earning. Sarah stood up. No. Robert appeared taken aback, as if unfamiliar with the sounds that term. I don't serve those who perceive solely my hue or my societal standing before they recognize my skills, she articulated with composure. And I certainly do not assist individuals seeking to purchase answers to emotional issues. Robert's expression embarrassed. You're rejecting a proposal that would address your monetary challenges from a place of pride, from a sense of dignity, Sarah rectified. And since your son merits more than just a person employed to act as if with a sense of concern, she made her way to the door, then stopped. Lewis doesn't require additional specialists. He requires the freedom to navigate his own path. I don't know my son. No, Sarah agreed. However, I am familiar with individuals similar to him. Individuals whose physical limitations hold no significance in contrast to the unseen barriers we create surroundings. She retrieved a card from her. She set her purse down on the table. Freedom Steps classes take place on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. If you're interested, bring Lewis. The first class is complimentary. Sarah departed. She walked by Winters, who had clearly been eavesdropping behind the door. You just declined an offer from Robert Miller, she murmured in disbelief. Are you out of your mind? Sarah smiled. Perhaps, but I prefer to be a little mad than be property. The following Wednesday, Sarah was present at the reception at the community center's desk when Zoe, her sister and co-founder of the project, rushed over. There's a Bentley parked outside, she murmured, anxiously fixing her hijab. And you won't believe who's inside. Through the window, Sarah caught sight of the opulent car. Lewis sat in the back seat, nervously gazing out the window. Robert stayed in the driver's seat, his hand still gripping the steering wheel, as if struggling with his own demons. He isn't as Zoe anticipated. He was the type of man that fit a certain mold. Please avoid coming to places like this. Sarah grinned, recalling Lewis's look during those fleeting instances of movement. Do not underestimate the power of a determined son. As they observed, the car door opened. Lewis stepped out gradually, making adjustments as gadgets. Then, to everyone's astonishment, Robert emerged as well. The billionaire appeared out of sync in his relaxed trousers and a cozy sweater. A clear try to wear more casual attire, yet still expressing frustration. I told you he would arrive, Sarah whispered, more to herself. Zoe stared at her. What do you do? Sarah remained silent, yet her eyes glimmered with hidden truth that not even her sister was completely aware. In her small apartment in the Bronx, concealed beneath her a notebook filled with notes lay on the bed, regarding kids such as Lewis and individuals like Robert Miller. Years of careful examination, study, and a strategy that started with a straightforward acknowledgement of an invitation to dance. What Robert Miller was unaware of what he was incapable of. Envision a realm filled with shimmering glass towers, and was that Sarah with endless bank accounts? Jenkins was more than a waitress who had consented to dance with his son. She was a determined individual with a purpose, and their realm of isolation and privilege were on the verge to confront its most significant obstacle, the straightforward reality that many of the most profound teachings in life cannot be purchased. They must be existed. Freedom Steps function from a vintage community storage space. Crafted by hand, the walls were adorned with posters featuring phrases. I appreciate your rhythm, your rules, and every action matters. When Robert and Lewis entered, children with different kinds of mobility devices utilized frilly shifts in rhythm to a gentle pulse. Sarah approached Mr. Miller, dressing in basic attire alongside the program logo. Welcome. Lewis observed the kids, mesmerized. A young girl in a wheelchair whirled in exact loops as a young lad with a prosthetic leg generated a series of steps. It appears to be in disarray. Robert expressed clear discomfort. There is structure, Sarah replied. It's merely not the one you acknowledge. She faced Lewis. What are you interested in joining? The young lad nodded with great enthusiasm, yet gazed at his father uncertain. Proceed, Robert urged tensely. I'll be right here. As Sarah led Lewis to the group, Zoe went up to Robert and presented him with a seat. The initial day is consistently the most challenging, she remarked. For the guardians, not the children. This isn't a counseling session, Robert contended. I employed the finest restoration experts. And what has that experience been like? Are you working for Lewis? Zoe inquired softly. The studio door creaked open. An older woman stepped inside, supported by an intricately designed cane. She possessed gray hair styled in graceful braids and an authoritative demeanor. Dr. Elaine Mercer, Zoe murmured, brain researcher, focusing on the adaptability of the brain. Having retired from Harvard, the woman greeted numerous kids before realizing Robert. Mr. Miller, you have declined. I have revised my research proposal 3 times in the past 2 years. Dr. Mercer, I look forward to your presence here. I managed as she explained the research program. We're exploring non-directive methods for movement, influences neural reconfiguration in children facing motor difficulties. Research, Robert scowled. I believe this was merely a dance class of the community. Sarah came back, while Lewis continued his exploration, interactions with a peer. Liberation Steps is a pioneering program for motor rehabilitation, program centered around the principles of motion independence. She elaborated. We incorporate neuroscientific adaptive dance principles. What motivates you to pursue Are You a Waitress if you manage a research program? Due to insufficient funding still, and due to the fact that individuals, such as yourself, turned away, we encountered it 3 times. The realization hit. You served as Dr. Mercer's assistant on the proposals. Co-author, Dr. Mercer. Sarah has an incomplete master's degree. As she was compelled to depart, she went to college to look after her sister, yet her theoretical work is revolutionary. You recognize my identity at the restaurant, Robert concluded. The instant you entered, Sarah verified. And when Lewis stood up to move, I saw the chance to demonstrate, don't explain. Was the dance choreographed? Definitely not. Lewis made the decision to rise. I, a collective of journalists, decided to pursue, stepped into the studio. Robert instantly tense. What is this? The second part of Sarah offered a faint smile. Zoe revealed Robert has a newly published article. Innovative motor recovery, the methodology demonstrates encouraging outcomes. We shared our initial findings today. Dr. Mercer elaborated, and we extended an invitation to the push. You utilized my son for a public relations stunt. Robert's voice resonated crystal clear ice. Sarah guided him into a side space adorned with images of numerous children decorated the walls, each featuring handwritten advancement metrics. On the final barrier, it was an empty frame. What could that be? He inquired. Our destiny. The entirety of the rehabilitation center we could create if we possessed the resources. 500 children a year instead of 50. You coordinated everything this, Robert muttered. The dance, the gathering, escorting me to this event on press day. I recognized the chance and seized it. For some time back, when you called off our meeting, I made a promise without even looking at the proposal. I would discover a solution. Sarah, Zoe cut in. It's Lewis. They hurried back. Lewis stood at the heart of the space, filled with other kids. The music had been silenced, and all eyes were fixed in quiet anticipation. The boy had took off one of his braces and was attempting to maintain equilibrium on a single point of support. Lewis. Robert moved ahead, yet Sarah halted him. Hold on, she murmured. Observe. Lewis inhaled deeply, concentrated. Then, to everyone's surprise, particularly his father's, he took a finished step without comprehensive backing. It was tiny, unsteady, yet completely his own. The kids erupted in cheers. The camera flashes lit up the scene off. Robert's expression, typically calm and indecipherable, was now laid bare with tears unfallen, shimmering in his gaze. This is the reason we developed Freedom Steps. Sarah spoke in a gentle tone. It isn't about ideal measures. It concerns initial actions regarding his own. Robert observed his son, not merely as an issue to be handled, but as an individual on a journey of self-discovery power. This might have been accomplished, he said, without trying to manipulate me at last. It might have been different had you responded to our calls or reviewed our proposals 3 times. The journalist observed Robert. A whisper spread as Lewis, unaware of the strain, persisted refining his latest move with an embodiment of focused intensity. Robert Miller found himself trapped. Prior he faced 2 choices: retreat in fury, affirming to the media his standing as detached and methodical, or accept the moment his son had crafted. Amidst the power he had always wielded, and the Robert discovered the freedom his son required. Himself in uncharted territory, one where neither his wealth nor his next step was shaped by influence. The gentleman who governed every facet of his existence now confronted a decision that no quantity of affluence could purchase. His eyes wandered between his beaming son and the journalist poised for his response. Humility was absent as a virtue in his language, yet as he observed the change on Lewis's face, an inner fracture started to emerge within him. The ensemble of authority and advantage he was used to now engage in a different tune, and he faced a decision. Would he persist in leading, or would he discover to pursue? Robert Miller confronted the journalist, anticipating his response. My son had just taken a step on his own and in front of the cameras, and Sarah Jenkins had adeptly guided him to this unattainable instant. Mr. Miller, a reporter came forward. Could you provide a comment regarding your presence at Freedom Steps today? Did your foundation really reject it? Is this program being funded 3 times? Robert cast a quick look at Lewis, who remained motionless, perfecting his new move, unaware of the political strain. Subsequently, to everyone's astonishment, particularly Sarah's, he smiled. What do you think is the most challenging aspect for her? Is there anyone else in my situation? Robert spoke to the reporter, yet voiced their words clearly so that all could hear, listen, acknowledging. When we make mistakes, a stunned silence enveloped the room. Miller Foundation is delighted to declare a dedication to completely finance steps toward freedom for the next 5 years and to establish a lasting rehabilitation focused grounded in the approach created by Dr. Mercer and Ms. Jenkins. Camera flashes erupted. Zoe released an exclamation of astonishment. Under a single stipulation, he observed, noticing Sarah's body stiffen, that Ms. Jenkins maintains full control over the approach and framework of the program. No business obstruction. 3 months later, heavy machinery, we were preparing the site for the new Freedom Steps Rehabilitation Center. Though the project lacked a certain level of luxury, the Miller Foundation had previously provided funding. However, it was the most groundbreaking, with each area crafted with direct feedback from the kids and their loved ones. Sarah oversaw the building process often, yet always accompanied. Lewis arrived consistently, occasionally bringing children accompanying him. And to the ongoing astonishment of the staff, Robert Miller arrived as well, without a sound, watching the development. I never imagined you would genuinely attend the board meetings, Sarah remarked one afternoon while they examined the proposals. I believed I would need to hit the books. Neuroplasticity at 50, Robert responded, rubbing his weary eyes. Before him was a scholarly article designated with sticky notes. Yet here we stand. Sarah gazed at the man with intrigue. Is this a part of your public atonement, or do you truly care? Lewis requested to have the second brace was taken off last week. I understand. He informed me. His earlier physical therapist mentioned that it would be impossible for a minimum of 2 years. Sarah beamed. However, do you recall that you let her go? As a result of your presence. She admitted her mistake, and she was indeed. Sarah gestured toward a photograph of Lewis managing to balance on just one crutch. He's advancing more quickly than anyone. Conventional healthcare forecasting. What was the reason for do you not accept my apology? Robert inquired abruptly. As you have never expressed regret, you shifted resources, revised regulations, supported our initiative. That isn't an apology, it's remuneration. Robert gave a slow nod. Once more, it is fair. During the inaugural event several months later, the difference was that the evening at the restaurant was nothing short of extraordinary. Has been better. The expansive adaptive area was filled with children of different varieties of mobility aids, all in motion without restraint. At the heart of the main hall, Lewis, now dressed in just a lightweight support on his left leg, guided a small coordinated performance with 3 others' kids. His movements were calm, restricted, yet they moved with an unexpected level of confidence. Robert observed from afar, not intruding. "He doesn't require your support," Sarah said, approaching. "I can't stand him anymore." Silently, Robert concurred. "However, he still requires my presence." Essential distinction. Robert pivoted to meet her gaze. "Thanks," he replied quietly. "For what reason precisely?" "For guiding me to follow." A reporter made their way over. "Mr. Miller, how does it feel to witness your son's progress?" Robert gazed at Lewis, who is now assisting a younger girl in discovering her equilibrium. Proud, not of what is faced, but of what is crafted for others. What has been the most significant lesson you've gained on this adventure?" Robert Miller, the individual who was previously recognized solely for his monetary dominion, gazed straight into the lens. True leaders are not those who lead others along the journey they think is correct, yet those who have the bravery to pursue when another demonstrates an improved approach. 1 year later, the Freedom Steps initiative broadened to 3 new cities. Sarah obtained the Advancements in Pediatric Rehabilitation Award, and her methodology started to be put into practice in medical facilities throughout the nation. Lewis, now relying solely on a light walking stick on challenging days, registered in traditional education, and transitioned into adolescence representative for the initiative, motivating other children to discover their own rhythm. And Robert discovered the most challenging and difficult, the most important lesson of all, that genuine strength does not reside in dictating every action, however, in recognizing when it is appropriate to take a step back and allow others to take the lead. In a realm where influential individuals seldom shift their viewpoints, and where individuals lacking power frequently stay in the depths of shadows, unfolds the tale of Robert and Sarah. And Lewis reminds us that genuine transformation takes place when we cross the unseen barriers that divide us. When a billionaire magnate discovers from when a father follows in his footsteps the sound of my son's footsteps. This narrative unfolds regarding how a modest act of respect transformed lives, eternally moved your soul. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, because we hold a conviction that the deepest revolutions begin without grandeur declarations or immense wealth. They begin when an individual possesses the bravery to embark on a genuine initial journey, and another possesses the insight to